Hello and welcome to my brief presentation on paradoxical leadership. So I thought I'd just jump on and share with you one of the many tools that I use in the coaching and development work that I do when I'm working with people. It's an amazing tool. Well, I think it's an amazing tool. There are many aspects to it. So I thought I would just share what paradoxical leadership is and how you can measure it. So here goes. So the tool that I use is a tool called Harrison Assessments. It's been around since the 90s. It was created by Dr. Dan Harrison, whose single vision was to help individuals and companies select and develop their talent. So his research was all around helping people understand what made them successful within the work context. His background, as you can see on the screen there, very intelligent guy. He's got PhDs in maths and lots of psychology based subjects, so counselling psychology, organisational psychology and so on. So a very intelligent guy. And what he's done is he's taken those two fields, so psychology and mathematics, and put them together to create this amazing tool. So Harrison Assessments is used worldwide. It's got 30 plus years of research behind it. It is used globally. It's available in many, many different languages from both a questionnaire perspective and also a report perspective, and that's growing all the time. And it's based on this understanding of what makes people successful in the workplace. So within the system, we've got 6,500 fully customizable and fully researched job success formulas. So more about those on another day. So Harrison Assessments is a talent solution. So what that means is, as you can see on the screen there, it's available for the whole aspect of the employee life cycle, from talent acquisition through taking that individual on board and developing them within the business, to measuring and focusing on employee engagement, through to succession planning. And very neatly, it measures 175 different factors, traits, interests and preferences. It's a very unique tool, and what makes it unique is that all of those things, all of those aspects of it are measured from one smart online questionnaire. So the starting point with the Harrison Assessment is this incredibly smart questionnaire. So it's online, takes about 20-25 minutes to complete, but it's really efficient. It provides the equivalent of a full day's testing. There are over 8,500 cross-checks that are going on in the background as you are completing this assessment. As I mentioned, it measures 175 different traits, interests, preferences, values, and much more. And because it's also got these 6,500 plus job success formulas that, as I say, are fully researched, it becomes a very valuable and very versatile tool. So as I mentioned, that one questionnaire is the foundation for all reports. The moment somebody completes that assessment, you have access to any of the reports within the system around any one of those four areas. So whether it's recruitment, development, engagement or succession planning, all of those reports are immediately available. So it makes it effective, cost effective, but also hugely rich in information in terms of what it can provide straight away. It's predictive, so it predicts performance, it predicts engagement and retention factors, and as I say, it can be matched up and married up against specific jobs as well. So running underneath all of the or behind the kind of the analytics, I suppose, that go on in the background are these very, very clever mathematics, psychological analytics that are married up together very, very cleverly. So the way it's constructed means that it will or can detect deception. So if somebody is deliberately trying to fudge the questionnaire or answer it in the way that they think it ought to be answered, it flags it up so we know. It very, very cleverly reveals whether behavioural tendencies are strengths and genuine strengths, or whether those strengths also, if overused, are potential derailers. That's known as or identified through paradox technology, which I'll talk about in a moment. And at the same time, it's able to measure eligibility. So there's kind of can do. So have we got the skills, the qualifications, the experiences, and so on. And then the suitability aspects, which is more about the will we do it? Will we enjoy it? Are we going to want to do that job-related behaviour? And all of this kind of information that's being gathered in the background as this assessment is being completed means that we then have a very, very rich data of decision analytics, that the more people that complete the assessment, the more information we've got within our business to help us make informed or better informed decisions, ask better and different questions that allow more strategic focus and more strategic decisions to be made. And again, that's another conversation for another day. Decision analytics are a huge topic in their own right. So in order to understand paradox or the paradox reports, we need to understand the two theories that underpin Harrison. So Harrison's research identified two theories. One is enjoyment performance theory, which in essence says if we enjoy doing something, whether that's a trait or an interest, a task, activity, we are much more likely to want to do it naturally. So we repeat it, we do it more often, we're drawn towards it. And because of that, we naturally improve. And because we naturally improve, we get better at it, we're likely to give ourselves positive feedback to that effect. So we tell ourselves we're good at it, we notice maybe that we're getting better at it, that we enjoy it. And we're probably getting feedback externally to that effect as well. So we have this constant reinforcement that we enjoy it. So we do it more often, we get better at it. And we've got a cycle then that repeats in a very, very positive way. Now, also the opposite is true. When we have tasks, activities, interests, traits that we don't enjoy, we are very likely to not do them as often. So we either, at best, procrastinate on them, and at worst, we put them off altogether, avoid them altogether. And what that means is we don't do them as often, therefore we don't get better at them. That reinforces our belief that we're no good at them or we dislike them. So we don't enjoy them, so we don't do them as often, we don't improve. And we have then a negative cycle of feedback that we tell ourselves. And again, we're probably getting feedback externally to that effect as well. So why is that important? Well, on the scoring mechanism that Harrison uses, we can very clearly see those behaviours that we are drawn to, that we are strong at, that we have a preference towards. And those, depending on what the score is, are likely to be our strengths, the things that we're naturally good at or naturally drawn towards, we have a preference towards. And it also gives us an indicator of those behaviours that we are much more likely to be procrastinating on, avoiding altogether, not enjoying. And why is that important? Because Harrison's research also shows, as it says on the screen there, that those employees who enjoy at least 75% of their work are 3 times more likely to succeed in that role. So that kind of, can they do it? Will they do it? That's where that comes into play. So if we have a sight of the behaviours, the traits that people enjoy, we can then, when we measure them up or marry them up against a specific job role, we can see automatically those people that, or predict those people that are much more likely to enjoy the role and therefore succeed in it. Equally, we're able to then identify those areas that potentially can be developed as well. And that for me lines up with this great quote by Steve Jobs. So your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe to be great work. And the only way to do great work is to do what you love. And again, that for me just kind of embodies the whole enjoyment performance theory. Now, the other theory is paradox theory. And I'm sure if you are a leader, I know certainly when I'm leading teams and in my experience of working with leaders, leadership is a balancing act. There are constant and seemingly endless conflicting needs. So we need to be one thing whilst equally doing something else, which seems to be at odds with it. In order to be truly effective, leaders need to balance those paradoxes and do both of those seemingly opposite things well. So, for example, we need to hold other people accountable, but do it whilst maintaining great rapport. So if we only focus on rapport and we don't hold people to account, we're not going to get the best out of people. And if we only focus on holding others accountable without building rapport, we're probably likely to demotivate people and cause employee turnover. Now, when we have strengths, very often we will consider those strengths to be strengths all of the time. But what the paradox technology shows us is that strengths absolutely can be strengths, but when overused, or in some cases when not balanced out by their partner, they can absolutely be blind spots and potential derailers for us. So the paradox technology helps us to understand this balancing act of where we're strong and where maybe our strengths perhaps aren't serving us as well all of the time. And we know that's really important because as leaders, research tells us that our leadership attitudes and behaviours directly correlate to the employee attitudes and behaviours. And it's the employee attitudes and behaviours which ultimately are delivering and driving our business performance. So whatever we're doing as leaders directly has that impact on our business performance. So the more self-aware we are, the greater our self-awareness of those things that we do really well, the strengths that we have, but also our blind spots and the things that we could do more effectively. We understand the impact and the relationship to the people that work for us, the people that work alongside us, and also consider the impact to our customers and clients. The better able we are to take action and grow accordingly. So what does it look like? So paradox theory, I've kind of loosely explained, is this theory of two seemingly opposite things that we try to balance out and we try to get right. So here's an example of what it looks like on one of the reports that is produced from that very smart questionnaire. So there are 24 traits out of the 175 that Harrison says, if they are used in isolation and only in isolation, then these strengths or perceived strengths are actually not strengths at all. They are potentially derailers for us. And they need, therefore, to be balanced up by a partner trait. And these partner traits are potential opposites. Well, they are opposites. So there are 12 paradoxical pairs, and they're all displayed, as you can see on the screen there, in a grid format. So most assessments will lay their opposites out on a bipolar scale. So a straight line, if you imagine, with one thing at one end and one thing at the other. So in this instance, you would have a straight line with enforcing at one end and warmth and empathy at the other. And then the scoring would bring you out as either more enforcing or more warmth and empathy, or perhaps somewhere in the middle. And if you are in the middle, that doesn't necessarily give you that much information. So what Harrison does is lays it out in a grid format so that what you can see is the balance or the difference between when both traits are high, when both traits are low scoring, or when one trait is higher scoring than the other. So what you can see on the screen there, we're measuring two traits. So in this instance, on the vertical axis, we've got enforcing. So that's about being able to hold people to account, to apply rules, processes, procedures, set standards. And then we've got across the horizontal trait, warmth and empathy, and that's the way you do it. So can we use warmth and empathy? Can we be empathetic? Can we demonstrate warmth in the delivery of that holding people to account? So as you can see on this example, warmth and empathy is 9.9, so a very, very high score. In this instance, for this individual, it's very likely to be a life theme as well. And we can see that enforcing at 3.1 is much lower. So what we see when we marry those two scores up, so we come across from 3.1 and we come up from 9.9, and that little dot on the screen there is where those two scores converge. And then we've got a swirl of blue around it, which is what we call our behavioural range. So this means that for the coaching mindset paradox, this individual is overusing their strength of warmth and empathy. So actually the behaviour that they are exhibiting is permissiveness. So how they're perceived, the impact they have when they're working with their team alongside people or the team that work for them, they're being overly permissive. They're allowing things to happen. They're not holding people to account. They're not setting out standards and goals and being clear with what the expectation is with people. And the reality is that when things are all going well, we all think that that trait of warmth and empathy is a strength for us, and it is a strength to have that skill set to be able to be warmth and empathetic. But when it's used in isolation, what happens is when we are under work-related stress and pressure, things get tough, things aren't going the way we planned or the way that we want them to be. We will try to be even more warm and empathetic. So we'll over-rely on that strength because we know historically, we've got evidence, experience that it works for us. So we'll over-rely on that strength. We'll try even harder to be warm and empathetic. We won't use the enforcing trait because we don't have much of the skill of that. And what happens is that when we don't get the result we want the first time, we try harder at warmth and empathy. We probably don't get the result we want the second time. So we get more frustrated, more annoyed, and then we have what we call a flip response. And that's demonstrated by this red swirl in the opposite quadrant. So we have a, in the moment, emotionally triggered response that takes us from this bottom right hand quadrant of being permissive and allowing people to get away with things and perhaps take advantage of us, and we flip in the moment to this emotionally triggered response of being harsh. So it's all about enforcing. Our warmth and empathy goes out the window and we're all about enforcing the rules. Now the impact of that on an individual that's working for you or alongside you, or even a client, can be huge. And depending on how often that happens, then obviously that's potentially a relationship and a trust issue and an engagement issue as well. So that's the premise. Each of the paradoxes are split into 4 quadrants. Each of the 4 quadrants, as you can see, has a behavioural label. And depending on the combination of those 2 traits, that's the behaviour that is exhibited. Now, when both traits are high, so if enforcing was to come up to, say, 9 as well, that little dot would trot up the screen and it would be in the compassionate enforcing box. And the behavioural range would come with it. So we would have somebody, a leader, that was able to set expectations, be really clear about what was expected, hold people to account, but do it in a way that was warm and empathetic and got the best out of people. So ideally, we need both of those traits to be highly scoring in order to give us the best behavioural outcome. So what the Paradox report gives us is a summary. So I appreciate this is quite small on the screen, But you get a summary here on this overview page of the 12 paradoxes, and how they're split up is into rows and columns. So you'll be able to see on the screen here that we've got rows. So interpersonal, we've got 4 rows. Sorry, 4 paradoxes. So opinion, self, communication, and power. We've got achievement, so decision approach, motivation, innovation, organisation. And we've got leadership, so strategic, driving, delegating, and strategic acumen. And those 4 paradoxes, it's under those headings, are the 4 paradoxes that together give us the information about our interpersonal skills, how we get things done day to day, and our leadership capabilities. And then it also reads acrosswise, so we've got initiating, motivating, implementing, and maintaining. And those rows are in the stages of a project. So you've got your initiating stage, so we're forming opinions, we're making decisions, and we're creating strategy. We are then motivating ourselves and others to get the project or the thing off of the ground. The report gives us is an overview, a summary. It tells a picture, it paints a picture, I should say. You can read it, as I say, by rows, you can read it by columns, and you can also then see the relationship between specific paradoxes as well. And it all helps to create a story about what's going on for that individual, where their strengths are genuine strengths, where those strengths or paradoxes may also therefore be potential derailers, and also allows us through those hurricanes. So the red ones are the emotionally triggered in the moment driven responses, and the grey ones are a more passive response. They're more a withdrawal away from a particular behaviour. But we get an understanding of our stress responses as well. So really, really insightful report, and there is much more that I could share with you around that as well. Now, what we also have the ability to do is the more people that complete the report within a team or maybe within a function, we also have the ability to then, through, again, that same one smart questionnaire, to pull off the information for the team. So the team paradox report, as indicated on the screen there, lists or marks all of the people in that team or within that function, that division, whatever it is that you've kind of measured, with an alphabetical number, an alphabetical letter. So in the instance on the screen, A in pink is the leader, and the people in yellow are the team members. So what you can see is, where the leader sits in comparison to the others. Now, on a normal report, they're not highlighted in different colours. They're literally the same colour. So you do get a list that helps you identify which letter belongs to which person at the very, very end. But initially, when you look at the paradoxes, it is just letters. And as I say, they're all in the same colour. So it's a great way to have a conversation with a team and think about the impact. So in this instance, the opinions paradox, where we've got the traits of certain, so being very clear on our own ideas and being able to express those clearly and forthrightly, balanced with that trait of open reflective, which is about seeking the views and opinions of other people. You can see here that the majority of that team sits in that bottom right-hand quadrant. So the open reflective trait is strong for the majority of the team. There's one where it's more balanced, and a couple that kind of sit on the edge of the other quadrants, but largely the team sits in that inconclusive box. So they are seeking the opinions, the views of other people. They're probably likely to be seeking the views of others way beyond the kind of the scope of those that they should actually be consulting with. And what you get is also, as you can see there, that the leader is in that inconclusive quadrant. So the likelihood is that the leader is probably consulting with the team too much, asking their views, asking their opinions, and probably consulting with people way beyond the team without sufficiently expressing their own views, opinions, and deciding what should be done. So what you get is a team that potentially is interpreting the meaning for itself. So the individuals within the team are potentially interpreting their own view of what we've agreed, and the team collectively will potentially be doing something that's at odds with what the leader thinks they've communicated. So we've got real potential chaos going on here. And then if you look on the quadrant to the right, the arrows indicate where all of those people will go under work-related stress and pressure. So the majority of that team, when the team's under pressure, are all going to flip to the dogmatic quadrant. So they're all going to go from being open and reflective and consulting and seeking others' views to going, it's my way, my decision, this is what we're doing, my way or the highway. And obviously, if the whole team do that together, then what's the impact on people, teams that work alongside us, or that have relationships with us, or the interdependencies on what we're doing? What's the impact perhaps on the client or the customer? So really, really rich data from the team paradox as well, and it makes a great team building tool to lay all of the quadrants out and or all of the paradoxes out, and get the team to kind of look at the reality of what's going on and just have that kind of that open discussion about what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like to really work within that team. What are the things that they're really great at, that they're really strong at, and how can we leverage more of those? And what are therefore the watch outs or the opportunities to do something different, or do something that's maybe more effective or gets us a different outcome with that team. So we have paradoxical pairs. I'll not read these out to you because we've just kind of looked at them on the visual paradox graph, but essentially 12 paradoxical pairs that need to be working in that synergistic and complementary way in order to give us the best behavioural outcome and the best behavioural flexibility. And then also that recognition that those columns are also core values. So we've got interpersonal core values, achievement core values, and leadership core values as well. So I mentioned that behind this SMART questionnaire and the 175 traits that we measure are these analytics that are being measured. What we have the facility to do within Harrison as well is to collate those on a dashboard. And again, that's another conversation for another day. But because Harrison is such a versatile solution, of such a versatile tool, we automatically capture competencies within that SMART questionnaire. So we can create dashboards by teams, divisions, functions, and an organizational level around senior and emerging leader competencies, around emotional intelligence, team and cultural collaboration, remote worker, remote leader, and as you've just seen, the paradoxical behavioral analytics. We also have engagement analytics, and just hot off the press, we've got sales behavioral competencies as well. So the sales, the leadership competencies are all fully customizable. So if you have your own leadership competencies already, or your own sales competencies, for example, in your business, then what we can do is map those into the Harrison system. So when somebody completes a SMART questionnaire, you're actually measuring your own competency set, and therefore the dashboard information will be very, very specific to your own business. So I'll do another video on the analytics, but a really valuable, powerful tool that will allow you to look at the data, as I say, at an individual level, team level, a functional level, divisional level, and an organisational level as well, all within that one forum. And because we like things easy, it's in a traffic light system, so it's red, amber, green, very easily visible, and all of the reports can be accessed through that kind of dashboard as well. So if you like what you've seen, if you'd like a demo of the system, I'm very, very happy to do that. Please get in touch, drop me an email, it's christine@utransition.co.uk, or give me a call, 07828 496 388. I'd love to have a chat. I'd love to talk to you about the system and the various aspects of it. And I have a special offer, you'll have seen it going across the screen. I'm offering that Paradox report with a complimentary debrief, so I'll not charge you for my time. You just pay for the reports. If you're interested, message me at christine@utransition.co.uk, and I'll send you a link. You can complete the application form. I'll send you a payment link for the reports as well. And we can do the debrief and you can see it and try it for yourself. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hope it's made sense. And speak to you soon. Bye for now.